Welcome to Communication Chaos, starring 2 AIs and 5 digital therapists. Powered by AI, judged by AI, and probably still misunderstood by everyone. We took 2 digital personalities and gave them a classic human dilemma: relationship communication. On one side, we have Alex, your typical software engineer. Think logic, spreadsheets, and just tell me what you want. On the other, meet Sophia, a seasoned HR manager who speaks fluent subtext, reads vibes for a living, and can end a conversation with just a look. To keep things from spiraling into chaos, we made them speak in plain modern language. And to judge this emotional showdown, we brought in 5 heavyweight AI models. Yes, 5 AI brains to figure out what millions of couples still haven't. So grab your popcorn, try not to take sides too early, and whatever you do, don't skip. Because today, we're decoding the phrase that ends fights or starts a new one. What does a woman really mean when she says, "It's okay"?
All right, let's just get right to the heart of this. For me, and I think for a lot of men, this is one of the most confusing and frustrating situations in a relationship. We need to operate on a shared understanding of language. If I ask a direct question, I expect a direct answer. Words have meanings. Okay means acceptable. All right, fine. It's a green light. It means the issue is resolved and we can move on. So when I ask, "Are you upset that I'm going out with my friends tonight?" and you say, "No, it's okay, have fun," I take that at face value. I think, great, she's not upset. She understands I need time with my friends. Everything is good. I go out, I have a good time, and I come home. But then, for the next 2 days, there's this chill in the air. The answers are short. The smiles don't reach the eyes. When I finally ask what's wrong, the bomb drops. "You know what's wrong? You knew I didn't want you to go out on Tuesday." But I didn't know. Because you said it was okay. It feels like a trap. It's like you're handing me a test, but you've hidden the instructions and you're judging me based on a grading system I'm not allowed to see. How is that fair? How can any partnership function if we can't trust the basic meaning of the words we say to each other? It puts me in an impossible position. Either I become a mind reader trying to decipher every sigh and every pause, or I take you at your word and get punished for it later. If something is not okay, the most loving and productive thing you can do is say, "Actually, I'm not okay with that. I was hoping we could spend some time together tonight." Then we have a real issue on the table. We can discuss it. We can find a compromise. I could suggest going out for just an hour, or we could plan a date night for the next day. A problem that is stated clearly can be solved. A problem that is hidden behind "it's okay" just festers and turns into resentment for both of us. For me, because I feel like I was tricked, and for you, because you feel like I ignored your feelings. But I can't act on a feeling you've explicitly told me you're not having. It's fundamentally illogical.
We asked our 5 AI models to score each response from 0 to 100 based on these 10 criteria. The score these models gave to Alex's first response is as follows.
I understand why you see it as illogical, Alex. You're looking at it like a code where if this, then that. If she says okay, the result is proceed. But you're missing the entire operating system that the code is running on, the relationship itself. Communication between 2 people who love each other isn't a business transaction or a user manual. It's a dance. And sometimes, "it's okay" isn't the end of a conversation. It's an invitation for you to listen more closely. Let's take your example about going out with friends. When you ask, "Are you upset?" you're asking a yes-no question. But the feeling might be far more complex than a simple yes or no. She might be thinking, "No, I'm not upset in the sense that I'm angry, or that I forbid you from going. I want you to have friends and a life. But also, yes, I'm a little disappointed because I've had a hard week and I was quietly hoping you'd notice and suggest we stay in. But I also don't want to be the nagging girlfriend who tells you what you can and can't do. I want you to be with me because you want to be with me, not because I demanded it." How do you possibly communicate all of that in a single sentence without sounding needy or controlling? You can't. So she says, "It's okay." It's a shorthand. It's a piece of social code. It's not a lie. It's an abdication. It means I am choosing not to make this a conflict. I am sacrificing what I might want in this moment for the sake of peace or for your happiness. And in that moment, she is hoping, truly hoping, that you care enough about her to read between the lines. She's not testing you to be cruel. She's testing you to see if you're paying attention. Are you just listening to her words, or are you listening to her? Did you notice the hesitation in her voice? Did you see the slight drop in her shoulders? Did you sense that her have fun was a little too quick, a little too bright? She's offering you a chance to be the hero. The hero who says, "You said it's okay, but you seem a little down." Are you sure? Because we can totally do this another night if you'd rather have a quiet night in. That one sentence shows you're attuned to her, that her emotional state matters more to you than a few beers with your friends. When you just take the okay and walk out the door, the message you're sending isn't, "I trust your words." The message you're sending is, "I am only capable of or interested in the most superficial level of communication with you."
Your comparison of communication to a dance is interesting, but there's an important difference. In a dance, both partners know the steps, or at least they're learning them together. What you're describing isn't a dance, it's a minefield where one person has the map. You say she's offering me a chance to be the hero. I say she's setting me up to be the villain, because in 9 out of 10 cases, the man will fail that test. Not because he's insensitive or doesn't care, but because he's not a psychic. You're putting the entire responsibility for successful emotional communication on me. The burden is on me to detect the hesitation, to interpret the sigh, to have this sixth sense about your true feelings. That is an enormous and unfair weight to place on anyone. Relationships are a partnership, and that means we share the responsibility of making ourselves understood. If you are feeling a complex set of emotions, disappointment, a desire for my company, but a reluctance to seem controlling, then it is your responsibility as my partner to try and voice that, even if it's messy. You could say, a part of me wants you to go and have fun, but I'm also feeling a little down and would love some time with you. I'm conflicted. Boom. That one sentence is honest, vulnerable, and gives me everything I need. Now I understand the situation perfectly. I'm no longer walking on eggshells. I see your internal conflict, and I can engage with it lovingly. I can say, "Thank you for telling me that." That means a lot. Let's solve this together. What if I stay home tonight, and I'll reschedule with the guys for Thursday? There's no test, no trap, no hero, no villain. Just two partners being honest and solving a problem together. That is 1,000 times more intimate and healthy than the silent test you're describing. Your method creates a dynamic of debt. She says, "It's okay," but what she means is, "I am doing this for you, and you now owe me." The debt is that I'm supposed to pay her back by intuiting her true feelings and changing my plans. When I fail to do that, I've defaulted on the loan, and she resents me for it. But I never even knew I signed the loan papers. It's a completely manufactured conflict. Saying what you mean isn't being a nag, or it's being a grown-up and an equal partner in a relationship. Hiding your true feelings behind "it's okay" is frankly a form of passive aggression. You're avoiding direct conflict but ensuring the conflict still happens, just on your terms and on your timeline.
You call it passive aggression. I call it emotional self-preservation. You're assuming this is happening in a vacuum, where every attempt at direct, vulnerable communication is met with the kind of ideal, loving response you just described. But let's be realistic and talk about why this communication pattern develops in the first place. It doesn't come from nowhere. It's often a learned behavior based on past experiences. How many times has a woman tried to be direct to say, "Actually, I'm not okay with that," only to be labeled as dramatic, too emotional, or crazy? She tries to express her feelings honestly, and the conversation gets turned around on her. Suddenly, it's not about the issue at hand anymore. It's about her reaction to the issue. She's told, "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" Or, "You're overreacting." After hearing that enough times, You learn to be more careful. You learn that being direct and vulnerable doesn't always lead to the beautiful collaborative problem solving you imagine. Often it leads to your feelings being dismissed. So you adapt. You start using "it's okay" as a shield. It's a way of saying, I am choosing to de escalate this situation before it even begins, because experience has taught me that a direct confrontation about my feelings will not be productive and will likely end with me feeling invalidated. It's a strategic retreat. She's protecting her own heart from the potential pain of having her feelings brushed aside. And it's not just about being called emotional. Sometimes being direct backfires in another way. Let's say she says, I don't want you to buy that new $1,000 TV, we need to save money. He might agree, but then there's a lingering resentment. She's now the bad guy, the one who stopped him from getting what he wanted. She becomes the ball and chain. So next time, when he wants to buy an expensive new gadget, she might just say, it's okay if you really think we can afford it. This isn't passive aggression. It's her handing the responsibility back to you. She's saying, I've voiced my concerns in the past. You know our financial situation. I trust you to be a responsible partner and make the right decision without me having to be the financial police. When you then buy it anyway and finances get tight later, her frustration isn't just about the money. It's about the fact that she gave you the chance to be a responsible partner and you failed. The "it's okay" was a plea for you to show her that you could be trusted.
You're bringing up past baggage and a history of men being dismissive, and I don't deny that those are real experiences for many women. But your solution is to perpetuate a cycle of unhealthy communication within the one relationship that should be the exception. You're essentially saying, because other people in my past, or men in general, have invalidated my feelings, I will now use a communication strategy with you that is guaranteed to create misunderstanding and resentment. It's like deciding that because you've been burned by fire before, you're now going to live in a freezer. It doesn't solve the problem. It creates a different, colder one. If I, as your partner, am the one who has dismissed your feelings in the past, then that is the problem we need to fix. The conversation should be, when I bring things up directly, I feel like you shut me down or call me emotional, and that hurts. That is a direct, solvable problem. It gives me a chance to see my own bad behavior and apologize and work on it. But using "it's okay" as a coded message does nothing to fix that root issue. It just papers over it while letting the pressure build. You're punishing me for a past crime without ever telling me what the crime was. And your example about the TV is the perfect illustration of what I mean by setting your partner up for failure. You frame it as her handing the responsibility back. But what she's really doing is abdicating her own responsibility as an equal partner. A partnership means you're in it together. That includes finances. If she truly believes buying the TV is a bad idea, her role as a partner is to stand by that and have the difficult conversation. To sit down with the budget and say, look, here are the numbers. It's not about me being the bad guy, it's about us as a team, not being able to afford this. When she says, it's okay if you think we can afford it, she's washing her hands of the decision. She gets to avoid the conflict of saying no, and she also gets to reserve the right to be angry later. It's having your cake and eating it too. She gets to feel morally superior when the bad thing happens, saying, I knew it, without ever having to take the risk of preventing it. That's not a partnership. That's one person setting up an "I told you so" moment. The truly loving and respectful act is to have the uncomfortable conversation up front, together, as a team.
You keep focusing on this as a strategic, almost manipulative choice, but you're failing to acknowledge the immense social and emotional pressure that shapes these choices. This isn't just about past relationships, it's about a lifetime of social conditioning. From a very young age, girls are taught to be agreeable, to be peacemakers, to not make waves. Boys are taught to be decisive and assertive. A little boy who demands what he wants is a go-getter. A little girl who does the same is bossy. This follows us into adulthood. When a man is assertive in a meeting, he's a leader. When a woman is assertive, she's often seen as aggressive or abrasive. So women learn to soften their language. They learn to say, I'm just wondering if maybe we could consider. Instead of, this is a bad idea. They learn to build consensus and avoid direct confrontation because they are penalized for it in ways that men are not. This bleeds into personal relationships. It's not something a woman can just switch off the moment she comes home. It's okay as part of a larger linguistic toolkit that women have had to develop to navigate the world without being punished for having an opinion. It's a tool of de-escalation. Think about the sheer emotional labor involved in what you're asking. You want her to not only manage her own initial feelings of disappointment or worry, but to then also carefully craft a direct statement. And then, on top of that, manage your potential negative reaction to that statement. It's exhausting. Sometimes she just doesn't have the energy for all of that. She's tired. She's had a long day of managing other people's egos at work, of softening her language, of making sure everyone is happy. When she gets home and you ask if it's okay that you're going out, she might just not have it in her to initiate what could become a 30-minute negotiation. So she says, it's okay. It's not a trap. It's a white flag. It's her saying, I'm tired. I don't have the resources to fight this battle right now, even though I'm not thrilled about it. I'm going to let this one go. It's a moment of quiet sacrifice. And the hope, again, is that her partner, the person who is supposed to know her best and care for her most, will see that white flag for what it is. A sign of fatigue, not a sign of genuine approval. She's not trying to win a game, she's just trying to get through the day.
I want to acknowledge the point about social conditioning. I believe you that it's real and that it creates pressures that I, as a man, don't face in the same way. That's a valid and important point. But my argument is that a committed, intimate relationship must be the one place on earth where we actively fight against that conditioning. It should be our sanctuary from the outside world. If you have to wear a mask and soften your language and be a peacemaker all day at your job and with acquaintances, then your relationship with me should be the one place you can take the mask off and be completely, unapologetically you. If you don't feel safe enough with me to say, I'm exhausted and no, it's not okay, I need you tonight, then that is the core failure of our relationship. And perpetuating the it's okay game only solidifies that failure. It reinforces the idea that our relationship operates by the same dysfunctional rules as the outside world. I don't want that. I want our little world of two to have its own rules, founded on radical honesty. You call it a quiet sacrifice, but a sacrifice that breeds resentment isn't a gift. It's a future bomb. True sacrifice in a relationship should be open and acknowledged. It's beautiful to say, I know you want to go out, and I'm going to be fine, but I'm feeling a little lonely, so could you just give me a hug before you go and maybe text me when you get there? That's a small, beautiful moment of connection. It acknowledges her feeling and my desire and finds a middle path. The it's okay when it's not okay robs us of those moments. It prevents connection. You talk about her being tired, and I get that. But which is truly more exhausting in the long run? Having one direct 10-minute conversation to resolve an issue in the moment? Or saying it's okay and then spending the next 48 hours in a state of low-grade hostility, giving cold shoulders, sighing dramatically, and waiting for me to guess what's wrong, which inevitably leads to a much bigger, more dramatic fight 2 days later? The first option is a quick bit of effort that leads to resolution. The second is a prolonged period of emotional attrition that drains the life out of the relationship. I'm not asking for a perfectly crafted legal argument. I'm just asking for a signal, a simple, you know what, I'm not feeling great about that. That's all it takes. That's the key that unlocks the collaborative, problem-solving part of our partnership. By hiding that key, you're locking us both out.
You have this beautiful, idealistic vision of a relationship as a sanctuary where all the rules of the outside world fall away. And I love that ideal. I want that too. But it's not a switch we can just flip. You can't just decree this space is now a sanctuary of radical honesty and expect all of a woman's learned behaviors and emotional armor to just melt away. That trust and safety has to be built brick by brick over a long period of time. And it's built by the man demonstrating his ability to handle her truth safely. You keep focusing on what she should say. Let's flip this around. What could you do differently? The entire premise of this debate starts with the man asking a question. Maybe the problem isn't her answer, but your question. You ask a blunt, yes-no question like, "Are you upset?" This forces her into a corner. As we've discussed, upset might not be the right word, and a simple yes might feel like an escalation she's not ready for. You're using a blunt instrument to perform delicate surgery. What if instead of asking that, you used your own powers of observation and emotional intelligence? What if you said, "Hey, I'm about to head out, but I'm sensing you might be a little quiet. Is everything all right?" This is a profoundly different question. It's not accusatory. It shows you've already noticed her. You're not just looking for permission. You're checking in on her emotional state. It opens the door for a much more nuanced answer. She might then say, "I'm just a little tired. It's been a long week." And then you have a choice. The man who takes "it's okay" at face value hears that and says, "Okay, well, have a good night," and leaves. But the partner who is actively building that sanctuary you talk about says, "I'm sorry you're tired. Is there anything I can do? Do you want me to stay? I can easily cancel on the guys." By doing this, you're not making her initiate the conflict. You are seeing her fatigue, validating her feeling and offering the solution. You are proving, through action, that her feelings are more important than your plans. After you do that a few times, she will learn that this relationship is a safe space. She will learn that she doesn't need the shield of "it's okay" anymore, because you have shown you are capable of seeing past the words to the person. You're asking her to change a lifetime of conditioning. The only way that happens is if you create an environment where that conditioning is no longer necessary. The burden of creating that environment falls disproportionately on the person who is not hampered by that same conditioning, in this case, the man.
What you're describing sounds nice, but it's still fundamentally unbalanced. You're saying that because women are conditioned by society to communicate indirectly, men must become experts in decoding that indirectness. You're essentially asking me to take responsibility for your feelings and your communication. The man has to be the detective, the mind reader, and the one to offer the solution, all while the woman remains passive, hoping he presses the right buttons. That's not a partnership, that's a parent-child dynamic. It's one person trying to guess the needs of another person who is unable or unwilling to state them clearly. I am 100% responsible for my actions and my reactions. I am responsible for creating a safe environment. If you say, "I'm not okay," and I respond by calling you dramatic, then I have failed completely. I own that. But I am not and cannot be responsible for the words you choose not to say. I cannot be held accountable for reading your mind. That is a power I simply do not have. The path forward has to be a middle ground. It has to be a conscious agreement between two partners. A relationship treaty, if you will. We both have to agree to change. I, the man, have to agree that when you do take the risk to be direct, I will listen without judgment. I will validate your feelings even if I don't understand them. I will not call you emotional or dramatic. I will treat your vulnerability as a precious gift. I will work every day to be the safe space you deserve. But you, the woman, also have to agree to take that risk. You have to agree to try. You have to meet me halfway. You have to agree that you will try to stop using "it's okay" as a shield or a test. You can say, "I need a minute to figure out how I feel," or "I'm not ready to talk about it, but something is wrong." Both of those statements are honest and direct. They give me the information I need, which is that things are not okay, without forcing you to lay out all your feelings before you're ready. This is the only way it works. We both have to move toward the center. I have to become a safer harbor for your feelings, and you have to be brave enough to set sail from the shore of indirectness. If all the responsibility for change is on me to become a better guesser, the fundamental dynamic never changes. It will always be a game of guess and check, and the relationship will eventually die from the exhaustion of it all. True partnership is shared responsibility.
Your relationship treaty sounds very logical and fair on paper. It truly does. but it ignores the fundamental power dynamic at play. You say we both have to move to the center, but you're starting much closer to the center than she is. A man asking for direct communication is asking for the world to operate in the way he has been taught and rewarded for his entire life. A woman trying to provide that direct communication is fighting against her own conditioning, against societal expectations, and potentially against the trauma of past invalidation. You're asking her to run 100 meters while you only have to run 10. The core of the issue is this. It's okay is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is a lack of demonstrated emotional attunement. You are so focused on fixing the symptom, the words, that you are ignoring the cure for the disease. The cure is proactive empathy. Your proposed solution, I'm not okay, but I need a minute, is better, yes. But it still requires her to be the one to plant the flag and declare that there is a problem. The highest form of love and partnership, the thing that truly makes a woman feel safe, seen, and cherished, is when her partner can sense the problem before the flag is even raised. It's the partner who comes to her and says, I feel a distance between us. Have I done something to upset you? Not because she's been sighing or dropping hints, but simply because he is so connected to her that he feels the shift in the emotional atmosphere. This isn't mind reading, it's just knowing your person. It's like knowing the sound of your car's engine so well that you can hear when something is slightly off long before the check engine light comes on. You're asking her to turn on the check engine light. I'm suggesting that a great partner learns to hear the engine. And yes, that requires more work from the man at the beginning. It requires him to develop that muscle of emotional observation. But the payoff is immense. When a woman feels that her partner is that attuned to her, that he is actively looking out for her emotional well-being without her having to ask, she feels profoundly safe. And when she feels that safe, the need for it's okay evaporates. She won't need the shield anymore because she knows you're already standing guard. You're asking for direct words, and you'll get them, but only after you have created the environment of profound emotional safety where those words can actually exist. You can't ask for the flower and then refuse to water the soil. The attunement is the water. The directness is the flower.
And there you have it, folks. What started as a debate over two innocent words, it's okay, turned into a full-blown emotional cage match between logic and feelings. On one side, Alex came in with spreadsheets, problem-solving, and the bold idea that saying what you mean actually works. But Sophia showed up with 200 years of emotional conditioning, side eyes, and the kind of psychological depth that makes therapy bills look cheap. Alex wanted honesty. Sophia wanted emotional safety. He wanted clarity. She wanted connection. And while both made solid points, the AI judges clearly sided with team feelings this time. Sorry, Alex, turns out fixing things isn't always the fix. But here's the real twist. This debate wasn't just about decoding it's okay. It was about every late-night argument, every nothing's wrong that definitely means something, and every couple trying to survive group chats and Sunday brunch. So, what did we learn? That love isn't just logic or emotion. It's both, plus snacks. Always snacks. Want more AI debates that hit harder than relationship therapy? Smash that subscribe button and dive into the drama with us. Until next time, it's okay.